Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons, and the first question of the day: members of the same species which are capable of interbreeding is best described as N, and you have to choose one of these answers. I hope that most of you, if would be hesitating about answer A or B. So what's the difference between these two definitions? Community is different species that live in the same area and share that area, and population, animals or plants of the same species that live in the same area and capable of interbreeding. So our choices, you see, would be choice B. Members of the same species that are capable of interbreeding are described as population. And ecosystem, for example, if we compare with community, will also include not just animals and plants, but such physical properties of the area like rain, water, stones, chemicals, sunlight, and so on. Next question: if 16% of the persons in a population show a recessive trait, what is the allelic frequency for the dominant allele? Take a look. If we have only two alleles in our population, we can say allele P and allele Q. If you like, we can say dominant allele A and recessive allele A. But in statistics, we usually use P and Q alleles, and all these alleles, if we combine them, of course, would make 100%. We usually do all the calculations on the scale between 0 and 1 equals to 100%. And if we have two alleles in a population, that means that these two alleles can produce three genotypes, and frequency of these three genotypes would equal to P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared, and all these three genotypes combined would equal to 1 or 100%. P squared would equal to homozygous dominant genotype, so capital A, 2PQ would stand for the heterozygous genotype, and Q squared would stand for the homozygous recessive genotype. These two genotypes would make one phenotype, and this genotype would make another recessive phenotype. So dominant phenotype and recessive phenotype. And we are told that 16% of the persons in a population show recessive trait. In other words, that tell us that 16% of the persons belong to this phenotype. 16%, in other words, we can say equal to 0.16 if we'll do all our calculations on the scale between 0 and 1. If we'll find frequency of the recessive allele, we would instantly know the frequency of the dominant allele. And frequency of the recessive allele would equal to square root of Q squared. So if we know that Q squared equals to 0.16, then Q would equal to square root of 0.16 and would equal to 0.4. Now when we know the frequency of the recessive allele, which is 0.4, and only two alleles are present here, dominant and recessive, we instantly know the frequency of the dominant allele. So 1 minus 0.4 would be 0.6. 0.6. 0.6 equal to 60%. This is answer D. So the frequency of the dominant allele in this population is 60%, and frequency of the recessive allele is 0.4. And our question is about frequency for the dominant allele, which is 60%. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.